The next lecture will be on techno-economic appraisal, and we will give the port sector overview in India. We will give with particular reference to state of Orissa what are the developments that are required. One of the major conclusion based on the review is the non-major ports, that is the ports which are under the state control, the traffic growth is faster. We have taken 2 years 2005-6 to 2006-7. Total cargo has increased from 573 to 641, that is about 11.9% increase overall growth. The 12 major ports that are under Government of India, they are handling about 75% of the total traffic, that is 423 million tons to 463 million tons, about 9.5% increase, whereas we have 187 non-major ports under state governments, and there the cargo is increased from 150 million tons to 178, that is about 18.7%. It is almost double that of the major ports. This trend is continuing. If you see the share of the maritime states, I said in the first class that there are about 9 maritime states. There is no surprise that these 3 states, Gujarat, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, these are the 3 major states that are handling the maximum cargo. If you see the living style of people in all these 3 states, they are much higher than other states. AP is fast catching up, they will come very close to Tamil Nadu. So these 4 major states, they are handling the maximum amount of cargo. West Bengal is only 9%, Goa is 7%, though Goa is a very small state, its handling capacity is comparable because of the location of Mormugao port as well as the hinterland what it has. Karnataka 6%, Orissa 6%, others are about 3%. This is what it shows. I will be concentrating on Orissa just to give what are the reasons why it is not comparable. The reason for Gujarat is obvious. We have 2 gulfs, Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Cambay. The industrial policy of Gujarat government is also very good. Basically the Gujarat people are businessmen. Anybody from Gujarat here? I do not expect anybody. I think most of you may be from Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh because of the location of IIT Madras, but Gujarat the people are businessmen, they may study MBA not engineering. So this 9 maritime states we have in financial year 2007 663 million tons. MO estimates Ministry of Surface Transport, now it is shipping, Ministry of Shipping. They have forecast in 2017 about 2000 million tons, but because of the economic recession this 2017 may go to 2020, but 2011 this 2007 663, 2011 we are handling very close to 1 billion tons, that is 1000 million tons. Just like Goa, Orissa is also having rich mineral resources and they is also now undergoing rapid industrialization. So this can expect about 1/6 of the national cargo, 1/6 means 15% of the national cargo, and we have about 480 kilometers of coast in Orissa. Tamil Nadu is about 600 or slightly more kilometers, but out of this only 50% is available for port development, and this purpose of this slide is to show what is the advantage of cluster of ports. If you see Tamil Nadu near Chennai we have 3 ports, one is Chennai, another is Ennur, the third one is L&T. There are some advantages of cluster of ports, so we want to say that we need to have a cluster of ports. We are suggesting about 3 cluster of ports. The advantage is the rail and road connectivity. When you want to have the connectivity for the port, if you have cluster of ports, then the rail and road connectivity can be common for one cluster of port, so the development cost can be shared. And we are suggesting 3 locations, one is Gopalpur, another is Paradip, and the third one is Dhamra. They are distributed along these 480 kilometers. Another thing what we want to say is the developers with financial performance track record and their willingness to use the cluster will be given the preference to develop these ports. So this is your Orissa coastline starting from very close to Andhra border. This place is called as Sonapur. It goes all along this we call it as first cluster, Gopalpur cluster. We are calling this as Gopalpur cluster because already the approval has been obtained for Gopalpur, the construction is going on. The next cluster is between these 2 locations, that is there is a river Devi coming here from Devi to Dhamra. The third cluster is from Dhamra to, the coastline goes like this. Where Chandipur is a place where we have this ISRO and other establishments using the sea coast. This portion is very calm area, is very good, not only in the Indian context, in the international context. It goes up to the West Bengal border. These are the 3 stretches what we want to develop, and each stretch we are showing where the cargo is coming, and we can develop this shows the railway line. What you are seeing is the main railway line which goes all along the border. This Gopalpur cluster, the details are given. What is the coastal length? 235 kilometers. There is an environmental restriction. This point is very important. Whenever we talk about port development, this environmental restriction is the one which governs whether a port can be developed or not. We have one of the largest lake, it can be called as a wetland also, that is called as a Chilika lake. It is very big, it is about 1000 square kilometer, 60 kilometer long and about 20 kilometers wide maximum width. It is a environmentally sensitive area. Then we have this Puri and Konark, these are all heritage sites. There is a committee called as MS Swaminathan committee. MS Swaminathan was the chairman board of governors of our IIT Madras. He has stipulated that no port can be developed at a distance of 10 kilometer from a historical site. For example, from Puri on either side 10 kilometer you cannot develop any port, that is to protect the heritage sites. Chilika lagoon is a wetland, so if we develop any port it will affect the coastal inlet, so we cannot say. So out of 235 kilometers, 145 kilometers we cannot develop, only 90 kilometers can develop. Only 3 places we can develop, one is Sonapur, another is Palur, and the third one is Gopalpur. And this gives some details about the connection. I will not go into detail unless you know the geography and the details, it is very difficult for you to understand. There is a river called as Rushikulya river which is draining into the sea, and this is that stretch Sonapur up to this place called as Astarang, where there is a river Devi which is draining into this. So we are discussing about Puri, Puri is somewhere here, the Konark is somewhere here. So this area becomes really very sensitive, and I was talking about the Chilika lake. The length is around 60 kilometer, this distance is about 60 kilometer, the maximum width is 20 kilometers. What you are seeing here, the blue color, this line is your Chilka lake. So this Chilka lagoon ecosystem we cannot develop. Then we have olive ridley turtles that come and nest by the side of Rushikulya river, here also you cannot develop. So there are certain stretches, this should have been given in a red color, but this place and this place you cannot develop. There is one place in between this at a distance of more than 10 kilometers, Harichandi where you can develop. Then we can develop a place called Palur. It is possible, but not very economical. Gopalpur already developed. The other potential location is Sonapur, which also can be used for development. What is shown in the blue color is the railway line. What is shown here in the red color is your road network that is being shown. So, in summary, we have only 90 kilometer of coast which is available for development. Then we have this Paradip cluster. So, this area also is very sensitive area, so we cannot develop here, and we have a place called Dhamra where the river is draining. This area also is a very sensitive area for our Indian Navy. There are certain establishments where we cannot develop, so only Dhamra we can develop. Then we have the other cluster. This is the Dhamra port, starting from Dhamra to West Bengal border. This is the third cluster where we have this portion shown here, which is your environmentally sensitive area. I am sorry, it is not environmentally, it is a defense. They have some restrictions. They are doing some operations here. We cannot, they do not permit any commercial activity in this. What you are seeing here is this red color is your 10 meter contour, this blue color is the 20 meter contour, and this is about 30 meter contour, and here we have developed the Dhamra port. So, just below this defense restricted area there is a place called Chudamani where you can develop. North of this where we have the river mouth, Swarnarega mouth, where we can develop a port called Kirtania. There is one more port planned on the other side of the river. So, these are the three clusters. The distance is from Dhamra to Kirtania is 84, out of which defense restriction is 45 and the available coast is only 39 kilometers. This railway line which is connecting this main railway line is being laid for the Dhamra port. So, what is the cargo share that has to come to Orissa? If you take 2020, it is given 2017, but we will make it as 2020 because there is some. So, you have to see this in the context, that is in 2011 we have about 1 billion tons, that will be increased in another 9 years or 10 years to another 1 billion ton. So, from independence 1947 to 2011 slowly we are increasing to 1 billion tons. So, from 2011 to 2020 it may go to 2 billion tons. This shows how fast the development will take place, what are the requirements for port industries. So, one of the spin off any development of port is the hinterland development. So, when the hinterland develops it needs a port, vice versa also, when a port develops the hinterland also develops. So, we have 1/6 of the share, about 330 million tons, that is to be given. So, the Paradip is the biggest major and Dhamra is the largest minor port of India. Sorry, it should be Orissa, and this may with projection go to 160 million tons, and we need there another 15 ports of 10 to 15 million tons capacity, and Chudamani they are planning, that is about 10 million tons. If you see the development of ports, Dhamra is being developed by L&T and Tata Group, and Chudamani is being developed by the Birla Group. So, the major industrial players they want to develop their ports. The biggest player in India is the Ambani Group, Reliance. They have the port facilities in Gujarat as well as they are planning in Maharashtra also. So, this also shows the nearby ports like Calcutta Port Trust, Vizag and Paradip Port, and what is the projection along the east coast traffic volume considering the hinterland. Required is 550, all the ports put together they will develop 250. So, another 300 million tons gap is there, that is enough potential is there for development. So to sum up, we need about 330 million tons, and with the existing major ports they are handling about 40-50 million tons, it can go to 100 million tons, but the minor ports what they want to develop in future, it cannot be of very small size, it has to be of a considerable size. Considerable size is about at least minimum 10 million tons has to be handled by any port, that means it will be about 15 to 20 ports should be developed. So the state share has to increase from 16% from the current 6%, then only the Orissa state will get developed. The ports are required to be developed on a priority basis. The state development earlier it is all based on agriculture and mineral resources, but what is happening today in the context of imports, exports and globalization is the port development is one of the vital parameters. So once the port develops, the state also develops, and then we have written as captive port. So we have a terminology called captive and non-captive port. Captive port is for an industry, so Birla Group wants to develop a port at Chudamani, that they will be using it only for their industries, they will not handle for others. If we take Chennai port is a non-captive port, it is in the public sector, so it will be handling cargo for many industries, whereas once it is a captive port, the captive port will be handling only for its own industries. The one of the captive port for Reliance is in Jamnagar, that is used only for the refineries. Any questions in this? No doubts. So this we will continue with the other lecture, that is about port planning. This port planning is not the essential part of, it is not one of the components of this course, but this is essential to learn about the design of port and harbour structures. I will be having the PowerPoint presentation of port planning, but in addition I will be discussing about the code, IS code, which is used for port planning. The planning of a new port means it is called as a greenfield port, or expansion or improvement of an existing one requires many factors, there is a typing mistake, many factors to be taken into consideration. That is, both are important, we have to develop the greenfield ports, new ports, as well as we have to expand the ports. For example, we were handling in 2005-06 about 600 million tons. By 2020 all these ports which were handling the 600 will double their capacity to 1200 million tons. The balance 800 million tons go to new ports. The factors to be considered for port planning are nature of cargoes to be handled. Nature of cargo means basically three types of cargoes. One is a liquid cargo, another is the bulk cargo like iron ore, coal. The third type of cargo is the container cargo. Another important thing is about the size and type of vessels to be catered for. So size means DWT, length, depth. Types means the type itself is different, container vessel is different from oil cargo. The method of cargo handling, how do you want to handle the cargo? If it is a liquid cargo, it is marine unloading arms. Container means it will be key cranes, rail mounted key cranes. Then we have mobile harbour cranes also, and the land use and operations, how do you want to store the cargo, evacuate the cargo, that is also important. Then land access, these are the various factors. So when you want to plan the port, these 5 aspects are very important. So we are explaining what is the nature of cargoes to be used. The general cargoes are non-unitized cargoes, break bulk cargoes. Break bulk means the steel, the finished products, that can be break bulk. Unitized cargo means it can be in a container or things like that. The bulk cargoes we already told it can be a dry cargo or a wet cargo is liquid cargo. The handling method is different for different types of cargoes. The types of vessel what you handle, it can be classified into 5 different types. It is a general cargo vessel, container vessel. Roll on roll off vessel means at the end of the vessel you will have a ramp. That ramp will be used for taking the cars, especially for cars we will be using roll on roll off. Then we also have a bulk cargo vessel where we transport iron ore and coal. Then we also have the tankers, clean and dirty cargo. Dirty cargo is crude oil and clean cargo is products. One of the main feature for this course is how to design the structures, whether it is a breakwater or a berthing structure, for which this vessel characteristics, these are very important. The layout of the ship including the locations, dimensions of the ramps and hatches. Hatches means last class I told about bulkhead. Each bulkhead is covered by a hatch cover. The location of the hatches is important. The loaded and unloaded deck heights, that is the freeboard when it is loaded and unloaded, superstructure positions and the clearances for dockside cranes. What it means is when it is completely unloaded, the ship will be above. So if it is rolling, it may go and hit the crane, dockside crane. So you should see the crane rail is minimum specified in our code is 2.65 meters from the face of the berth. There only you can have the rail for the crane. Then we need to see whether it is a handling characteristics of ship, and that is how do you handle the ship. For maneuvering, maneuvering means stopping distance, going through the entrance channel and all, and turning operations, that is in the turning circle how do you turn the vessel. This is the handling characteristics of the ships. Some of the ships are having a good maneuverability nowadays, even without a tugs they can be maneuvered, otherwise we need a tug to maneuver the ship. And windage areas of ships to assess forces on the berth, that is whatever force is acting on the ship is due to two, mainly predominantly two. One is the wind, another is the current, the third one is the waves, but we say that we reduce the wave by providing the tranquility. So the windage area of the ship is also important. Last class we have given the ship mooring line, the size and capacities of bollard pulls, and another thing is about the deck crane capacities and reaches. Reaches means the width of the ship is 40 meter, the deck crane has to reach 40 meter to take the ship. These are the 5 important parameters of the vessel which will govern the design of the port planning as well as the design of structures. The method of cargo handling. So the cargo handling, this depends on the nature of cargoes, the type of the vessels likely to use the port. The most important consideration is whether dockside cranes are required or whether ship's own lifting gear will be used for loading and unloading. So I said last class about the handy size and handy max which are having its own gear, so we do not need a dockside crane. This own lifting gear ships are very much important in the Indian context. All along the coast every 50 kilometer you can have a small berthing facility where the small ships with its own gear will come and load and unload the cargo. Apart from these cranes we need these forklift trucks for general cargo, container handling for general cargo, then container handling equipments also used, that is inside the storage area. This land area, this is also important, depends on the throughput of the cargo, how much land is required behind the berth, the type of cargo, the methods of cargo handling, and length of time cargo remains in the port. This length of time cargo remains in the port is very important. We do not want the cargo to be in the port for a very long period of time. This container berth, this generally requires more land behind the berth to maximize the throughput. With the general cargo, part of the land will be utilized for transit sets and warehousing. This is also important because general cargo unlike container cannot be immediately transported, we need a transit shed as well as the warehousing. And this container cargo, it can be, the land area can be open because containers give the cover against rain and sun, whereas for this general cargo we have to provide transit shed warehousing, that means it is a covered shed. But container berth also needs some storage with sheds. This is only for filling and emptying containers. When you have a container which has to be inspected by customs, it has carrying a cargo for 2-3 parties, then you have to do the filling and emptying. Only for that purpose we need these sheds, otherwise mostly it is open only. This is another important thing, this is only is creating a lot of problem for development of port, that is the access. This access can be by road, this can be by rail or inland waterway. In case of liquid cargoes it can be by pipelines. These are the 4 modes of transport. In this context, the biggest port as on today is in China, Shanghai. They are handling containers, they are using the water route for evacuating the container. They have built a road bridge for about 40 kilometers into the sea. For many years there is a port in Europe that is called as Rotterdam. The Rotterdam port is having that unique advantage of this inland waterway, so it is a gateway to Europe. They use the inland waterway for evacuation of the port. Then Singapore has reached the top position from Rotterdam. One of the advantage of Singapore, it is a transshipment terminal. Transshipment means all the cargo required for India at one point of time has been transshipped from Singapore, sometimes from Colombo also. That means the bigger vessel will go to only Singapore, mainline vessels, mainline means a point to point, it will go to only Singapore, from Singapore it will be transshipped and come to India. That means the transport is through the waters. So if you have developing the inland waterway, you can go in for very big development in the port sector, that is shown in China, in Shanghai, Rotterdam in Europe, as well as Singapore in Singapore port. Singapore is not inland waterway, it is the seaway, it is a transshipment terminal. We have not developed this inland waterway so far, so it has to be developed. The road and rail sector is fairly good and there is a lot of development that is taking place. Then for liquid cargoes we have to use the pipelines, and other things that are required in a port planning is the tugs and pilotage, the security and policing services, this is also very important. Then fuel bunkering facilities, whenever a ship is coming we can provide bunkering facility for the ship. Bunkering means we can give fuel, water and things like that. Then it also needs some equipment maintenance facilities, both for the ship maintenance as well as some workshops and things like that. Services to ships, that is water, electricity, sewerage, telephone, all these things can be given. Then many people will be working there, they need restroom, canteens, offices, post offices, all these things are required. Any doubts in this? How many of you have seen a code, IS code or any code? Which code you have seen? 456. Which year you have seen that? Huh?
Last year also I was reading.
Last year. Last year means after joining IIT.
No sir.
Huh.
Even when I was in UG also we has to use that code.
What about others? Anybody has seen any code? Which code you have seen? IRS. Anybody else?
IS 800.
What is that IS 800 code?
Steel provision of steel.
Steel Code. When was it revised?
2007. No.
Anyone else? Civil engineering students, you have not seen IS 456 BTech Civil Engineering? Huh? What is it? You listened in the class or you have seen the code?
We have seen the.
What is your name? Shivakami Sundari, eh? Where did you see the code? Hard copy or soft copy or?
I'm having a hard copy.
Hard copy. Where is the soft copy available?
Central lab.
So you can load it. This. I will check the code. I will discuss about the code in the next class. Now we will move on to lecture number 4, that is about the planning of harbor. We have discussed about this. Harbor is a protected water area. This provides safe and suitable accommodation for ships to transfer cargo as well as passenger. When you talk about harbor, there are different types of classifications. What is listed here? What is the advantage of listing different types of classification? This is better for your understanding. So we can call the harbor as a natural harbor, artificial harbor and semi-artificial harbor. Can you tell me which is the natural harbor in India? Cochin. Artificial harbor? Huh? Semi-natural? Huh? Best example is Goa. Vizag also can be classified. The inner harbor is natural and outer harbor is artificial. Then depending on the usage we can classify whether it is commercial, fishery or navy. The commercial is all the major and non-major ports what we are discussing. Fishery means adjacent to every port we have a fishery harbor, then we have many minor fisheries harbor also. Which state will be having the maximum number of fishery harbor? Can you guess? Huh? No one from Kerala here. Kerala only is having many fisheries. Gujarat is also having, but in people in Gujarat they don't eat fish. They are mostly vegetarians. I think Kerala most of the people. How many are from Kerala here? I think all of them eat fish in Kerala. They do export also. Tamil Nadu also has, but not like Kerala. Where do we have the harbor for navy? Any other place? There is a harbor and port only for navy in India. Where is it? I told you in the class. It's called as Karwar. Karwar in Karnataka. It's a very important place, Karwar. It is specially developed for Indian Navy. See this, there is a saying in Tamil, one who rules the sea rules the world. Like that, Navy is very important for our dominance in the military and strategically it is very important. We have a very big naval establishment in Port Blair, Andaman group of islands, very strategically very important. If you have read the newspaper, the Navy is not permitting the exploration of oil and gas in Indira Point, which is the southernmost tip, and it is being planned to develop another naval facility south of Vizag, mainly for Navy, about 3000 crore project. The Karwar and this project is called as Project Varsha south of Vizag. These two naval facilities are very important. The fisheries harbor is also very important. Apart from agriculture, the other two important trades that are being practiced by the population. One is fishery, the other one is this making this textiles, that is in a big size as well as for small size. So these are the three trades which we have to cater for. The fisheries harbour is very important. Then the harbour can be on the sea, it can be on the creek. Kandla is on the creek, Calcutta is on the river. The lagoon is both Paradeep and Mangalore, they are on the lagoons inside the land area. So these are the three types of classification of harbours. The next one is anchorage. Anchorage means Gopalpur minor port is anchorage port. Many places earlier days we have anchorage only, even Chennai was an anchorage port. Anchorage port means the ship will be coming and it will be at a distance of few kilometers, maybe 10 kilometers from the 5 kilometers, 3 kilometers from the shore, and small barges will go and load and unload the cargo, that is called as a anchorage port. But the loading unloading rate is very small, so then we need a direct berthing port. Direct berthing means the bigger size vessel will come directly into the harbour. All weather means it will be for throughout the year 365 days, normally it is about 300 days. Fair weather means it will come only in non-monsoon and sometime north east monsoon also it may come, that is fair weather. So we have direct berthing all weather or direct berthing fair weather. Similarly anchorage all weather, anchorage fair weather. Then we have what is called as a transhipper. Transhipper means the operation is faster, but it is somewhat similar to anchorage. This is being practiced in Goa. Transhipper means the ship will come and berth by the side of another floating vessel which is a transhipper, and small barges will bring the cargo. So when there is a transhipper, on one side we will have the big ship, on other side we have the barge. Then we have open sea jetty, this is mainly used for liquid cargo. In Kadalur we have a open sea jetty, in Nagapattinam also we have a open sea jetty. So we put a approach for a long distance, maximum approach what we are doing is about 6 or 7 kilometer in Dahej. Nagapattinam, Kadalur, Nagapattinam it is about a kilometer or less than that, but in China, in Shanghai, near Shanghai, the open sea berthing facility connects to the mainland by a distance of about 40 kilometers. Then we have the single buoy mooring system. So in Gujarat, in Gulf of Kutch as a part of Kandla port, we have a single buoy mooring in Wadinar. It handles about 30 million tons, one single buoy. So it is most economical system of handling. I think in India we have about 12 single buoy mooring systems as of today, these are using VLCCs. So these are the different types of harbours. So you told about Cochin, there is no artificialness in this, there is no breakwater, nothing, but they want to develop the Cochin port further. For that there are plans to build some breakwaters and increase the dredge depth. This is the artificial harbour. Chennai is not the place to build the port, but they have built the port. It has all the negative points, but since Britishers were there, they built the port and it has developed itself for a period of time. And when you plan the port, you do not plan all the places for all the vessels. This is for smaller vessels, slightly bigger, bigger, and then bigger, then very big vessels, like that we develop. Another problem in artificial harbour is the environmental management, environmental impact. So we have to see, when you go into the course, mainly we have to study what are all the design parameters required for port as well as for harbour. This harbour infrastructure consists of breakwaters, entrance channel, turning circle, dock basin and berth. For example, this is the breakwater, entrance channel, there is one turning circle here, they want to propose another turning circle here, then these are all dock basins, these are all berthing structures. So this berth actually goes into port infrastructure, but we can say that there is a boundary between the harbour and port. What is the function of breakwater? The function of breakwater is to protect the harbour against wave action. So any waves when it comes inside, it will damage the vessel or structure and it will create a lot of problems. So we have to protect the harbour from wave action. Then we have to reduce the intensity of wave action as well as the coastal erosion. These two are different. Protect the harbour means in cyclone and all it should not permit more waves, that is the thing. In a normal operating condition it will reduce the wave. For example, severe wave during cyclone can be of the order of about 9 to 10 meters in Chennai. That time no vessel will be inside, they will take the vessel outside, but inside lot of infrastructure is there, that should not be damaged. And the intensity of wave action should be reduced by 1/10 of waves that is acting outside. Normally it is about a meter or 2, so at that time you have to reduce. Then the coastal erosion due to the waves, that also should be reduced. These breakwaters, they can be either parallel to the coast or perpendicular to the coast to maintain tranquility condition. So if you see this Chennai breakwater, if we talk this as the shoreline, this breakwater is perpendicular to the shoreline, this breakwater is parallel to the shoreline. We have many types of breakwaters, we will discuss separately in 2 lectures about breakwater. The entrance channel, so entrance channel is like a roadway marking, there should be waterways in proper configuration and these are to be designed for good control and safe maneuverability of the ship. When you are bringing the ship inside, there should be sufficient width and depth of the channel so that you can bring the ship under all conditions. Conditions means winds, currents, waves, visibility as well as in adverse weather condition, not during cyclone and all, but non-cyclone period about 300 days, whatever adverse condition is there you should be able to bring. Visibility is also important, just like air navigation only. Alignment, this alignment is important for the entrance channel. The design ship expected to use the channel can navigate with reasonable safety conditions of tide, currents, wave and wind. For example, to make it very simple, we have different conditions for the ship related to current, wind and wave. It is called as head C, beam C and quarter C, that I will discuss later. Head C means the direction of all these parameters which are perpendicular to the width of the ship, that is beam of the ship, that is called as the head C, where the area is less, that is called as the head C. If it is perpendicular to the length of the ship, that is called as the beam C, which is undesirable because the exposed area is more. The types of channel, I will show what is open channel, semi restricted and fully restricted. There is a figure in IS code that I will be discussing it later. The width of the channel depending on whether it is a open means it is more than 7 times beam of the vessel, it is about 10 times the beam of the vessel. If it is single lane traffic, you can go for 3 times. Double lane means one ship can come and one ship can come out, that time we need more than 3. The depth of the channel, this depends on the size means length of the channel as well as draft is the main parameter. Size means length and beam, it also governs because we have the rolling and pitching of the vessel, that is depending on the length and beam of the vessel. Draft means the portion of the ship which is below the water line. This is important, under keel clearance, number of lanes, single lane or double lane, type of channel, I will explain with figure in one of the class. The type of channel is open, semi restricted and fully restricted. wind and wave action and dredging etc. And it also depends on the type of seabed. UKC depends on tranquility inside the harbor, type of seabed etc. And this is typically between 10 to 20% of the draft, that is the under keel clearance, depends on the tranquility, that is the wave action inside the harbor, type of seabed. If it is a rocky seabed, under keel clearance should be more. If it is a clayey seabed, under keel clearance can be less. Clay means about 0.3 meter, rock means about 0.6 to 1 meter, because when the ship goes and hits the bottom, if it is a clay there cannot be much damage, if it is a rock there can be severe damage, typically between 10 to 20% of the draft. So we will continue the lecture in the next class.